Salutations, everyone. This is Joe Woodley at joespeakslife.com, and I'm here with another video blog for you today. And today we're going to get into something a little bit more controversial. We're going to get into politics. Politics is nothing more divisive in this nation, certainly during election season. This is 2016, and we've got a presidential election coming up. We have the Congress with the Senate and the House, and there's going to be a lot of local elections. And so I'm going to get into politics today and approach it from a very different angle. And I've spoken to so many young men and women of whether they be black, white, Hispanic, doesn't really matter, who are abandoning the traditional party system that is in place, and they're moving more toward being classified as or identified as independents. And I happen to be one of those people. I am an independent. I am not a registered Democrat, nor am I a registered Republican. And many years ago, I was in fact a Democrat, and this was basically back in the 90s. But the more I studied and learned about the way the party system is set up and the corruption and everything that's going on, I made it very clear that I needed to leave the party. And so I'm going to talk about today why I abandoned the Democratic Party, why I did it. And each person obviously makes their own decision on politics and where they stand. But I'm going to talk about why I did it. And it's important. And I think it's important that the people begin to take the power back from the government. This is supposed to be a government for the people, of the people, and by the people. And for a long time, power has been centralized in Washington. And the people have lost power and they've lost their rights. And the larger the government has grown, the more intrusive it has become, the more rights people have lost. And people have seemingly felt that it's okay to lose their rights because they're getting more stuff as a trade-off. But we know there's no such thing as anything as free stuff. So I want to talk about this, why I abandoned the Democrat Party. No matter where you go in the United States today, whether on the right or the left of the political spectrum, whether you live in the North, the South, along the coastal regions of our nation, people are finally beginning to wake up. They are waking up to the fact that the political system has been hijacked by the special interests and power brokers who are more interested in consolidating their political clout than looking after the best interest of the American people. Today, I'm going to share with you how I found my personal independence from the corrupt political party system that has hamstrung, it has hamstrung our nation. Okay, so everyone knows that if you're black in America, you're supposed to vote for the Democrats, okay? Everybody knows that. To vote for any other political party, especially the Republicans, most especially the Republicans, is an automatic revocation of your black card. The traitor is immediately branded a coon, a sellout, and even an Uncle Tom on the internet, throughout the community, and sadly, even in some of our very own churches. His right to voice his opinion is promptly challenged. His influence is undermined, and his blackness is questioned. Speak or demonstrate any level of disagreement, discontent, or outrage concerning the current administration, that's the Obama administration, and its implementation of policies, even when they prove detrimental to the people they claim to serve, will result in your personal character and integrity facing a firing line of public execution amongst the gleeful crowd of fanatical floggers, each waiting for his opportunity to cast his own set of dispersion. They will literally destroy you. And of course, there are many examples of this happening in the media today. To challenge President Obama's stance, even when it comes to issues that the vast majority of the black community have traditionally stood against in many quarters, is perceived as turning your back on what it is to be black. There have been a host of celebrated community advocates, and I won't mention their names because if you're in touch with politics or anything that goes on in that arena, you will probably know who some of those individuals are. So these celebrated community advocates that have sounded the alarm concerning the negative impact of many of his policies that have been promoted by the president and the Democratic Party now have their names and reputations tarnished, virtually destroyed. There's been a conscious effort to subdue and silence their voices, and is evidenced by the fact that whenever these activists speak up, they are often mocked by many in black radio, television, and media. Completely destroyed. They are mocked. There are dispersions that are cast against their character, against their integrity. Their blackness is challenged. It's a horrific situation. It's like you're not allowed to have your own opinion, or you're not allowed to correct what is wrong with a particular policy. The first presidential election I personally remember is from 1984, and that's when I was 8 years old, around 8 years old at the time. And the reason I remember that particular election is because Jesse Jackson was campaigning to become the president of the United States. And even though it was a foregone conclusion that there was no plausible path for him to win, he still received overwhelming accolades for taking steps. He helped open doors. And so I have to give him credit for that. He helped make it plausible for people to see, hey, he made a bold step, and it's possible for a black man, a Hispanic person, a Chinese, to run for office. Okay. So it was plausible. And there was definitely a strong sense of pride within the community. Even though many people didn't vote for him because they didn't believe he was going to win anyway, there was still a very strong sense of pride, okay? And this was about 20 years post the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, okay? Actually, less than 20 years. And so it seemed that we were making some tangible progress, okay? And no one in my family ever told me who I should vote for. No one. Although in many families, they do. On off the record, certainly in some off the record conversations, it was inferred on who I should vote for. There have been many conversations I've had with individuals who made it clear that blacks should vote for the Democratic candidate, even if the stance that they hold on certain issues it does not address the needs and the concerns in the black, brown, and poor rural white communities. And even if it does not provide realistic, tangible solutions. The general thought has been that somewhere along the line, it's going to just work its way out. It's going to work out. Don't worry about it. Just vote for the Democrats. Because the Democrats were supposed to be for blacks, brown, and underprivileged whites who reside in many rural communities. They're supposed to be for the working class folk of America, the people who the political system had left behind, okay? The Democrats presented a clear message that they were concerned about the plight of our fellow citizens, and they were going to look out for their best interest. The Republicans, well, they were supposed to be on the side of the rich and wealthy Wall Street tycoons. Dun, dun, dun. Okay? The talking points suggested that the big fat cat corporations, super wealthy Americans, and of course, white racists controlled the direction of the Republicans because obviously that's who has to control the Republican Party, okay? And so if that line of reasoning wasn't enough, the Democrats were, of course, the party of FDR, the big deal, the party of Kennedy and Johnson, the Voting Rights Act. And they would supposedly protect us from the system that had painfully held so many people under the crippling weight of poverty and despair. Okay, black folks are the most loyal voting bloc in the history of politics in the United States of America. For about 50 years or more, candidates have consistently been able to draw from the tapped wells of voters in the black community to gird themselves up. Through each election cycle for the past 50 years, we vote consistently for the candidate with the D after his name, even when we have no verifiable evidence to support the candidate's bloated claims of success on ability and comprehensive strategy to produce results that best empower the individuals who reside in black, brown, and poor communities to succeed and rise out of the depths of generational poverty. Each election cycle, we get a laundry list of promises that predictably lead to disappointing outcomes. No doubt about it. It happens all the time. The sad truth is that many black folk vote Democrat because it's the black thing to do. Rather than debate the merits and validity of individual candidates, we have shown blind loyalty to an organization that in many ways demonstrates contempt for the very poor it purports to fight for. Shows contempt. The only time they show up is when it's election time. Now, yes, there are people who work in those communities and do different things and whatnot, but I tell you, the policies are harmful in many ways to communities that they claim to support. There has been no sustained appreciable gain socially, economically in the black community by conforming to the policies of the Democrats. None. Go through any predominantly black community in the United States of America, or the majority of them, and they're broken down. Buildings are boarded up, glass shattered. Any community. Black and brown communities remain at the bottom of every economic and social scale, with the exclusion of crime, despite billions of dollars being spent through progressive and liberal programs. Yes, there are more elected officials of color, from the presidency to the state and local representatives, and yet the issues have remained virtually unchanged. In some cases, the indicators have gotten even worse. So we pump all this money into our schools, all this money into our communities, and we are not seeing the results happen. They're not there. They're just not there. No matter what we do, we're not seeing those results happen. Please be aware that I am not stating, I'll make this clear, I'm not stating that I believe the Republicans have all the solutions. I don't believe either party has all the solutions to the problems that we face today. The Republican Party, especially over the last 20 years, has certainly played a significant role in contributing to the debacle our nation finds itself in today. But to ignore the fact that the policies of the Democratic Party have had a devastating impact on our communities is sheer foolishness. Those are the facts. No matter where you go again, these communities are in utter disarray. More blacks than ever before rely on government assistance to maintain basic living expenses. More blacks than ever before rely on food stamps. More blacks live in poverty today than they were 8 years ago. Much to the chagrin of my detractors, this is not all George Bush's fault. I hear that over and over again. Well, it's because of George Bush. George Bush this. George Bush has not been in office in 7 years. He's not responsible for all of these things that have been going on. Okay? Much of what has happened is due to they were well intentioned, but they were ill guided political maneuvering by the Democratic Party to win votes without regard to the long term consequences of feel good programs that produced few, if any, results. They looked good, sounded good, tasted good, people were all behind it, but they were not giving us the results that we wanted. And as a result, today we have a budget deficit that is scheduled to exceed $20 trillion. Yes, the deficit did in fact increase under the presidency of George Bush. That is the truth. A criticism I have is that he cut taxes while we were in the middle of two wars, and that has never been done in the history of this great nation. And it proved itself to be a contributing factor to the disaster that occurred in our economy. However, the situation has been exacerbated by our current president, President Obama, whose budgets didn't merely compound the situation, they accelerated the decline into the hole we find ourselves in today. There was an acceleration. He didn't slow it down. He only added to the deficits. President Obama and many of you will be long gone before these deficits are paid off, if ever. That means a weaker, less influential America, both domestically and internationally in the long run. Your child and my child and our grandchildren are going to be stuck with this debt. They're going to be hamstrung with it. Our schools, again, have not improved. As a matter of fact, there has been a measurable decline in the performance of many of our students. While the Democrats tour, while the Democrats are out touring the nation, declaring the effectiveness of the party's economic programs, the unemployment rate remains the highest in the black community. The community that has supported them the most, has been the most loyal, is the one that has gotten the shaft. Those are the facts. In poorer white communities as well, and brown communities, have gotten the shaft from the people that have been loyal to, that have voted for consistently, they're supposedly looking out for them. We've gotten the shaft. Facts. Those are the facts. Okay? So, infant mortality in our community remains the highest. Although many people have access to healthcare services because of the healthcare law, the quality of this healthcare and social services are on the decline, and some of the worst in black, brown, and poor rural white communities. The quality has gone down. So more people have access. We've got more people into the system. But because of the way the system has been structured, the quality has declined dramatically and is getting worse. I know I've talked and spoken to doctors, and I've spoken to nurses and other people who and patients and people who are in the system, who deal with the system. And every one of them can attest to the fact that the quality has declined. Yes, more people are in, but the quality's declined. Rates are going through the roof. The very things that they claimed would not happen because the quality care was supposed to go up. The rates were supposed to go down. That's not what has happened. Those are the facts for the vast majority of people. Okay? And so we see all of these things that are happening, right? We have some of the most strict gun laws in our communities, but the highest murder rates. With some of the most strict gun laws, but the highest murder rates. And there are many factors that are attributing that all to the Democratic Party. Part of it has been the breakdown, obviously, of the family structure, the breakdown of religious and faith-based institutions has attributed to this problem. But the policies of the party have not helped the situation. They just haven't. All this money, all this stuff being pumped in, and our young black men are being slaughtered in the streets. Slaughtered in the streets. Okay? I mean, this is absolutely outrageous what's going on here. And yet, we ignore the issue. We ignore the issue. Okay? Several weeks ago, I watched the State of the Union address by the President of the United States. And you know what? I was absolutely stunned by the fact that just by how disconnected he is from what's actually happening in the country. He said that the economy of the country is strong, and he railed against anyone who would suggest otherwise. The economy is great, guys. There's nothing to see here. It's wonderful. Everything you need is right here. We've given you all these great and wonderful jobs. The unemployment rate, true unemployment is actually closer to 10%. It's not at 4%. It's around 10%. And the black community is much higher, much, much higher, okay? But in his eyes, it's doing great. It's fantastic. No one says anything, though, because we don't want to hurt him. Okay? So my question is, what planet is he living on? And yes, if you know what, if I heard a Republican suggest that, I would say the same thing. Okay? If it was President Bush, I would say the exact same thing. What planet are you living on? Okay? When I didn't agree with policies from former President Bush, I was just as outspoken. I didn't have the mouthpiece or the platform. But if I didn't agree with a policy, I was outspoken. And guess what? I'm going to do the same thing with President Obama, and I'll do the same thing with the next president. Whether they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, male, or female, I will always stand up for what is right and what I believe in. Because that is my right and that is my obligation as a citizen of the United States of America. So, Mr. President, what's going on? Our communities are crumbling. Democratic Party, we supported you for all these years. What's going on? Our communities are crumbling. Don't tell me you need more money, because we've pumped all the money we're in. We're practically broke as a nation, and we're pumping all this money in. I believe that as a community, we should begin to hold politicians to the same standard, regardless of the party affiliation. I believe that black, brown, and other communities need to truly reevaluate who we are and what we believe in. We should not be exclusively loyal to the Democrats, particularly when you observe the facts on the ground. The facts speak for themselves. Open your eyes and you'll see it. When policies have been proven ineffective and fail the community, restrict access to individual success and prosperity, it makes no sense to continue supporting those politicians and their ideals. Makes no sense. None. But we keep doing it, even though we end up with the same results. Keep doing it, end up with the same results. Only a sadomasochist enjoys being betrayed, tortured, and hurt all the time. They just love it. Only a sadomasochist. Snakes bite. That's their nature. Most birds fly. That's their nature. These politicians have lied to us for long enough. But we can't be surprised. It's in many of their natures. It's in their nature. If we continue to support them knowing the facts, then we are inviting even further disaster, and willfully so. If you're tired of broken promises, stop voting for the same people. Politicians should have to work to earn our votes based on principled values and policies, and not just expect our votes based on the fact that we are black, brown, poor communities. That's what should happen. I believe that we need to be more educated on the positions of candidates. I believe in personal responsibility and accountability. I also believe that it is the job of the federal government to foster an environment that promotes the values and ideals necessary for communities, families, and individuals to change the circumstances in life that have kept them down, not to enable them to remain dysfunctional, to make them dependent. The Democratic approach has been to pump more money into the situation. But how many of you realize that when you pump money into a broken situation with unproven results, you are not solving the problem. You are simply delaying the repercussions of what is inevitable when an appropriate solution has not been found. I believe that the core of every healthy community is faith, family, and values. That's the core of every healthy community. Faith, family, and values. Not the government acting as a substitute or foster parent. People have souls and conscience, not the government. I have not been part of the Democratic Party for many years, and I am proud to say that I am free. So why did I leave the Democratic Party? Because the party left me a long time ago, and it's left you. And when you open your eyes, you're going to see that that's the case. The party system is broken. The party execs in the Democratic Party are just as corrupt as they claim those corporate execs are. The ones that they rail against all the time, and these evil fat cat companies, they take money from them just like everybody else, just like all the other politicians. They are corrupt. They have no appreciable results to better the lives, the quality of the lives of the people. They have not proven that. The Democratic parties have birthed generations of government dependence. All these people for generations on welfare, the grandmother, the mother, the child, and then even the next generation. They've birthed this. They have fostered this. Why have they fostered that? Because when you give people stuff, everything that comes from the government owns you. You get food stamps. The government tells you what you can buy, when you can buy it, and they decide how much you're going to get. That's another form of slavery. That's another form of control. When they give you health care, they tell you what doctors to go to, when you can go to the doctors, where you can go to the doctors, what type of medication they're going to allow you to use. That's called slavery. That's control. It's not more rights. It's control. Nothing comes free. The price we pay for the government to control our lives is our freedom and our liberty. Cities under Democratic control have been under some of the worst economic plight. Democrats have pandered to the special interest, punishing success rather than promoting policies that support personal responsibility and reward achievement. So those guys who are making all that money, we're going to take their money, we're going to give it to you. We're going to give you a whole bunch of free stuff. Yeah, we're going to take these millionaires and the billionaires' money, and we're going to take it from them, and we're just going to give it to you. That's going to solve all your problems. They feed you that because it feeds your emotions and your fears and any type of jealousy and envy that might be there. That's why they say that. That's why they say that. We're going to take these other people's money and give it to you. That's going to solve your problem. That's going to make you happy. That's going to fix the problem. That's going to bring down tuition in colleges and university. That's going to get you a better job. If we take their money, it's going to get you a better job. That's a lie. And it's a lie they've been feeding, and people have been feeding on that, and it just has not worked. So they've pandered to that. And they don't say, look, we've got to come together as communities and have some viable solutions. My fellow Americans, it's time for us to be free. It's time to be free. Break from the shackles of the political party system and see that you're being used, you're being manipulated, you're being pimped by the Democratic Party. They love black folk as long as you're voting for them. They love you as long as you are in alignment and agreement with them. But if you don't, they call you a coon. They call you a sellout. They call you Uncle Tom and everything else. But as long as you stay on that plantation, they love you. I hope that you would consider the points that I've made. Again, I told you it's going to be a very controversial and fiery video blog today. But when you really take the time and do the research, you'll find that everything that I'm saying is factual. You go through our communities, you'll find out what I'm saying is factual. When you look and online and do the research, check out our schools, check out our hospitals, check out what's going on with the job situation, and you see it's factual. It's time to make some changes. It's time to make some changes. Thank you for joining me again. I'm Joe Woodley on Joe Speaks Life. Next week will be a much more uplifting and wonderful blog. dealing with success and principles that you can take with you into the week. God bless you, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.